Welcome back to Inside St. Tammany. I'm Michael Vincento, your host for this episode. Today, we're going to dive right into what it takes to keep St. Tammany beautiful and environmentally sound. We have a special guest, our Director of Environmental Services, Tim Brown. How are you today?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Let's jump right into it. You're the man in charge of keeping St. Tammany beautiful, clean, all of the above. Yeah. It's a tall task.
It is, and we got a great team over there in Environmental Services that takes care of that. From doing our sewer inspections to doing Keep St. Tammany Beautiful with litter pickup and household hazardous waste days. So we got a good team over there that's dedicated to providing those services to the public.
I would imagine the biggest thing that people think of when they think of environmental services, it's litter pickup. And I'm sure you guys get requests every single day. Just last year, if it was 100,000 pounds of litter was picked up off the road. So
That's right. Yeah, over 700 miles of a roadway was cleaned last year.
Wow.
The parish administration has made a huge commitment to litter abatement. In the past, we've been able to use our community service through the courts, people who have been assigned community service. Through their different programs now, they're not getting all those people with those hours of community service. So the parish made a commitment, and we've now got a crew of 5 employees that are dedicated to litter abatement. And they go out on a daily basis and pick up trash along the roadways. If any of the residents have areas that they would like addressed, they can go to our website and make that request to have a roadway picked up.
Those big changes happened because of COVID, and, with the Department of Corrections and the pickup crews, and we have a good partnership with the state, but a lot of changes happened because of COVID. Mm-hmm. And President Cooper and this administration strengthened the ordinances, and they beefed up Keep St. Tammany Beautiful. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so Keep St. Tammany, like I said, the administration committed, and we've hired 4 or 5 full-time employees for litter abatement. We've also got our director of Keep St. Tammany Beautiful. Keep St. Tammany Beautiful is an affiliate of Keep Louisiana Beautiful. And through that program, we put on our household hazardous waste days. We try to do 2 a year, and that's a huge expense for the parish. But this most recent one we had in April, we had over 350 participants come through. We're still waiting to see what the totals on what we collected were. The vendor hasn't gotten those numbers to us yet. But when we did the exit survey, and we did something new this year where we used Sign Up Genius, where the residents were able to actually schedule a time to come drop off their materials to us on that Saturday. And we had an exit survey for the residents when they left the site. To rate us, between 1 and 5 stars. And 270 of the participants stopped to give us their opinion. And the average rating we got was 4.997 stars.
I'll take that.
So we'll take that. That was a huge improvement over the prior year when we had it Coop Drive all backed up, and we had I believe we had over 550 cars at that event. So we're constantly evolving, trying to improve the way we do things. And this last event was very successful. We're going to continue with that model.
Awesome. So that's something that people can expect moving forward.
That's right.
One of the things that we've shared in our messaging in the Public Information Office, and I know we work with you guys, as soon as we pick up the litter, it feels like the very next day that trash is back out there.
That's
so.
Right.
What's the message? People can help. What's the general message to the citizens?
Well, one of the initiatives we're working on now is a St. Tammany Parish Adopt a Road program, and it's modeled after the DOTD, the state program, and we're going to be reaching out to different groups to see if they would like to adopt a section of parish roadway. This is only for parish roads, not for the state roads. But that will entail that group committing to go out and pick up that section of roadway probably twice a year. And we'll have the signage along that road that says the St. Tammany Parish Adopt a Road program and the name of the group underneath that sign. And once we roll that out, we'll put it out on social media, and people can contact Environmental Services to do that.
You've been with St. Tammany Parish government for a couple of decades, but as director now for the last 5 years, what are you most proud of as you've seen evolve in the last couple of years?
I think there's been a lot of efficiency built into the way internally the parish operates. Like you said, I've been here for 22 years as a parish employee. And I think a lot of the silos that traditionally have been between departments have been broken down over the past probably 4 or 5 years. And I think that lends itself to efficiency in the way we handle business here in St. Tammany.
And the greatest beneficiary of that is the citizens.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Something that's, I want to switch gears here a little bit. It's a major problem in St. Tammany. It's the elephant in the room, but not many people know about it. And that's something that's really picked up in the last couple of years with this, the sewer task force and the what's in the waterways here. I'm going to hand it off to you to kind of explain that and what's going on.
Yeah, so the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality and the Environmental Protection Agency, they go out and assess the different waterways throughout not through the state. And St. Tammany, we've got a lot of different water bodies, a lot of bayous, rivers, and of course the Lake Pontchartrain. And as the EPA and DEQ have gone through the parish, they've determined that most of these water bodies in St. Tammany Parish are what they call impaired, where they've got an exceedance of either bacteria or too little dissolved oxygen. Either one of those can get a water body listed as impaired. So what DEQ and EPA have determined is that one of the primary suspects, contributing factors in those impairments, are the extensive use of on-site sewage treatment systems in St. Tammany Parish. The best estimate we have is that we've got over 35,000 of these residential on-site sewer systems in the parish. And if the maintenance and operation aren't kept up with, the effluent from those on-site systems can be problematic, where it's not getting the proper treatment. It can put what's called biological oxygen demand into the water bodies, which will deplete the oxygen content, which the fish, obviously, and crawfish and everything else needs that dissolved oxygen to live. So it can impair the ability of that water body to those fish and crawfish and everything. The other component is the bacteriological with fecal coliform. Obviously, fecal coliform comes from human waste. And we can when you have an impairment of a water body for that fecal coliform, then you have the risk of people getting sick. So in 2023, Parish President Cooper created the on-site wastewater task force that brought together a bunch of different stakeholders. We had the state agencies, we had the parish agencies, we had some academia in there, we had some community groups to talk about how we can improve the water quality in St. Tammany Parish. And obviously there are some non-point source issues with stormwater, runoff, things like that, but the primary suspect was the residential on-site sewer systems. And so a ordinance was drafted that would enable environmental services to go out and inspect every 3 years these residential on-site systems. That ordinance was not passed. The council asked us, instead of passing it outright, to do a pilot program. And we are in the beginning stages of that pilot program, where we're going to go out and inspect 1,000 random homes throughout St. Tammany that use these on-site systems. First, to see if they would be exempt from the program if you have no off-site discharge, if you dispose of your wastewater on your property, you would be exempt from this future program. So we wanted to see what percentage of these 1,000 pilot households that we do would be exempt. So we're trying to get that done, the pilot program done by December, so that we can make that report to the council, let them know what we found. At that point, it'll be up to the council whether they take action on that draft ordinance.
It's an incredible task. When we started this episode about how hard it is to keep the parish clean, but to keep it environmentally sound, and that's exactly the purpose of this. It's going to take some time to
That's right.
get
and
there.
We've got some anecdotal evidence. We've done some projects through EPA grants where we've identified high density areas, and we worked with the Lake Pontchartrain Conservancy to go out and inspect every home in the subdivision in that high density area where they use these on-site systems. And After we went through and we worked with the homeowners, educated them on how to properly take care of the system, had them pump them out, made sure the aerators were working. After that was completed, and it was over 400 homes, after that was completed, we did sampling before and after, and we saw tremendous improvements in the water quality from beforehand to after we did all the inspections. But that's just a snapshot, and we found that probably a year after we go through an area and get everybody in compliance, that about 50% are back out of compliance a year after that. So it's something that we just have to continue to maintain to do, and we're not trying to beat anybody over the head. This is mainly a homeowner education process, because a lot of people don't know what that system does. They don't know that the aerator needs to be running to properly treat that system. So it's mainly environmental services that's going out to educate the homeowners.
As a leader in the environmental services community, what's your concern? Is that, most people think they flush the toilet, it's no longer a concern. What's your concern from that point, that when these things aren't working as they should?
I, like everybody else in St. Tammany, loves to get out on the water. Fishing or going out and just for general recreation, swimming into the mouth of the Tchefuncte. Unfortunately, with these impaired waterways, you do run the risk of people getting sick if they accidentally ingest some of this water, because we've got such a high fecal load in our water bodies. So it is a concern. And as a fisherman myself, the low dissolved oxygen also can impair those water bodies for fish and wildlife propagation, where they're not reproducing the way they should. So those are my concerns.
You talked about the Tchefuncte. Mm-hmm. Is this fecal coliform, is it in the major waterways here in St. Tammany Parish? The ones that people use, it's the summertime, they're out there boating.
It is, and it's in the lake. All this flows down into the lake, and so you've got it from just about throughout the entire parish. There are very few water bodies in St. Tammany Parish currently that are not listed as impaired.
So it's going to take some work to.
It is.
This is a several-year process, and obviously your goal would be to get environmentally sound. Everything's fine and beautiful, but it's going to take some time to get there.
Well, and the other component of it is the economic development component of it. Once DEQ and EPA list one of these water bodies as impaired, they then limit what else can be discharged into that water body. So if you had a business that wasn't on central sewer, you had some property that didn't have central sewer available to it, and you needed to put an on-site system on. When you make that application to DEQ and you say, okay, I want to install a wastewater treatment plant, and it's going to discharge 1,000 gallons per day. EPA and DEQ are going to look at that and say, well, that's going to the Bogachita. That water body is currently listed as impaired. We can't allow another discharge to that system. And DEQ, whether you have your financing, whether you have your property, whether you have the zoning, DEQ can shut it down right there, because you're not going to be able to discharge and get that wastewater treatment system.
You mentioned it before. Mm-hmm. How many of these on-site sewage systems do we have in St. Tammany Parish? 35,000
of the residential on-site systems, and then when you add in like commercial, where you've got permitted through DEQ, where they have to submit DMRs every month or annually or whatever, you've probably got another 400 or 500 of those.
Out of that total, how many do you think are contributing or out of compliance and contributing to the impaired waterways?
For the 35,000 on-site, we find a failure rate when we go out of right around 50%.
Wow.
Yeah. So if the 35,000 on-site system, that comes out to about, using the LDH loading criteria, that comes out to about 14 million gallons of wastewater a day. So if you've got 50% of it that aren't being treated properly, that's 7 million gallons a day of poorly treated wastewater.
Wow, that's staggering.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
You mentioned education is critically important, and we know that St. Tammany Parish is growing. We have a lot of people coming from Orleans and Jefferson and different places where they do have a centralized operation there. And so they, once they flush it, everything goes away. That's not the case here. And education is important, because once you come from Jefferson, you think it's, the city or the parish is handling it. But here in St. Tammany, there's a good chance that they're handling it themselves.
That's right. And we've had several instances where we've had to go out and inspect the system, and the homeowner didn't even know what that did. They didn't realize that they weren't on a sewer system. And we had to educate them. You know, you've got several different systems that are in use. You've got the traditional septic tank, where you have no electrical components. You don't have a aerator. It's just a tank that separates the, and you get some primary treatment, separates the wastewater, and it goes out through a field line. And if it's done properly, a septic tank is great because you have no off-site discharge, and it percolates, the wastewater percolates down through the soil, and nobody ever comes in contact with it, and the microorganisms in the soil treat that wastewater. Then you've got what's called a mechanical treatment unit, or an ATU, an aerobic treatment unit, where you actually have an aerator where it goes into the tank, and that aerator, it's kind of like septic tanks use anaerobic bacteria, ATUs use aerobic bacteria. It's kind of like a warm-blooded animal and a cold-blooded animal. In a septic tank, the anaerobic bacteria are kind of like the cold-blooded animal, where they're just kind of sitting there, and if they bump into something, yeah, they'll eat it. An aerobic treatment unit is kind of like a warm-blooded animal, where it's actually going out and seeking to find food sources. And so it's a more efficient means of treatment. But those ATUs don't typically have a field bed. And as you drive along St. Tammany, drive down some of these rural streets, you'll see the pipes coming out of the side of this road into the ditch. And those are the discharges from those ATUs. And if that's not properly maintained, if that aerator's out of service, or if it's getting too much flow, if it's undersized, or if there's damage to the tank, then you can get poorly treated wastewater into that ditch. And once you have a subdivision that has 300 or 400 of these all discharging into the ditch, it can get pretty nasty. And of course, you know, you drive along and you see the kids' soccer balls in the ditch, or you know, their bicycles in the ditch, and you know, the kids don't know. They're going to go retrieve that soccer ball, and then they have it on their hands. And so you have larger issues. And we've been working with the Mosquito Abatement District.
That was my next question.
District with Dr. Kevin Caluette over there, and he's been a tremendous help and resource as we've been doing this. The Mosquito Abatement District is tasked with going out and treating all these ditches. And what they have found is that these ditches that hold a lot of the wastewater effluent are the primary breeding ground for the mosquito that carries West Nile virus. So from his standpoint, he's very concerned about that breeding ground, that essentially all these discharges are creating the perfect habitat for this mosquito. So as we roll out this pilot, we're also going to be working with the Mosquito Abatement District, where we're going to let them know where we're going in advance, so that they can go out and kind of do some of the things that they want to do, check on, take some samples, see how many larvae there are before and after, things of that nature. But they've been a great resource for us. And hopefully, if we can improve the water quality in these ditches, these roadside ditches, we'll have less mosquitoes that transmit West Nile virus, and they may not have to larvicide as much in the future.
We've talked about the on-site sewer systems. We've talked about Keep St. Tammany beautiful and cleaning up the parish. What else does environmental services do? Well,
one of the lesser known functions is that we issue the permits for new water wells. We work with the Department of Natural Resources on getting those registered properly through the state. The well drillers in St. Tammany that operate in St. Tammany handle that. That's generally not something that the homeowner has to deal with. The HHW days, we talked about that a little bit. We're looking at doing another one in the fall, probably in November, looking at trying to do it in Slidell. We try to alternate east and west, and this last one was over here at the Covington Fairgrounds. And again, we'll use Sign Up Genius. We'll probably limit it again to 500 participants that register for their time slot and show up during that time slot.
What's the reason why we don't have more of those HHW days?
Just the expense. It's a tremendous expense to have all of these materials disposed of. The vendor that we use actually takes those materials that we collect at these back to Texas, where Depending on what it is, some of them are incinerated, some of them are recycled, but it's a tremendous expense.
Can you share how much?
Typically, like the event we just had here in, was it April? I think that's probably going to run over $200,000 by the time we do the mobilization, pay the vendor, and dispose of all the materials.
So you'd like to have more, and you want to increase these operations, but when you talk about recycling and all these things, it gets expensive quickly.
It does get expensive quickly, and we try to keep our costs down. We have some other vendors that come out to those HHW days that give us a flat rate. We try to do everything, not just HHW stuff, but we try to take the tires, we try to take the glass that people want to recycle. We do shredding of documents. We have different vendors that come in and take the electronics for free. We have people that come in and a portion of the electronics are free. Some of them have to be sent off for disposal. The car batteries, we've got a vendor that will come and collect those for us for free. So we try to keep costs down, but ultimately we end up footing the bill for disposing of a lot of this.
If you had one message to a citizen who's driving to dump tires or tossing a cigarette butt out the window, what's your message to them?
Well, you know, in terms of tossing the cigarette out the window, don't do it. You know, we've got a beautiful parish. We need to do our best to maintain it, and it takes everybody to do that. But you know, a few bad actors can make it look really bad along our roadways. You know, going back to the HHW day, one of the largest things that we collect is latex paint. And latex paint is not really a hazardous waste. The only reason that it can't be thrown in residential trash is because it's a liquid and it won't pass what's called the paint filter test at the landfill. So if residents have a quarter gallon or a half gallon and you've got someplace in the garage where you can take the lid off, put some kitty litter in it, and just let it sit and dry out, once it dries out, it can go in the residential trash. And I think that's something we need to do some better education on, because that's a huge expense for us at these HHW days, disposing of latex paint.
And it's as simple as running to the convenience store, the grocery store, getting some kitty litter, and you can throw it away on your own.
Well, and you don't even really need the kitty litter. The kitty litter speeds the process up, but if you've got a place where you can put it on a shelf with the lid off for, you know, a couple months, depending on how full it is, it'll dry out and you can just throw it away.
Wow. And it's a pretty big expensive operation for us to get rid of it.
It's a huge expense. That's one of the things that we collect the most of is latex paint, and we partner with Habitat for Humanity on that. And the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality sends a crew over for our HHW days, and they do a great job. They take all the different paint that people are disposing of. They do a good job of. They've got a good eye for how to mix the different colors to come up with something that's appealing. They put it in 5-gallon drums, they mix it up, we put it over on some pallets, and then we take it over to Habitat for Humanity resale store for people to come over and purchase from the Habitat store.
For a good cause, helping people.
For a good cause, that's right.
And repurposing it. It's recycling right there.
That's right, and it allows us to not have to pay for the disposal of that portion of the paint. Unfortunately, we get so much of it that we can't put all of it over to Habitat. We still have to send a lot of it off for disposal.
In conclusion here, final question. What's your goal for your Department of Environmental Services in the next couple of years, months, moving forward?
Yeah, no, I think we're heading in a good direction. We want to serve the residents of St. Tammany the best we can. Unfortunately, sometimes that puts us at odds with certain residents because they don't like what we have to tell them about their on-site system. But we try, as I said before, try to do it from a homeowner education perspective. But if we've got somebody who's got a really egregious situation and they've got raw sewage running onto their neighbor's property, we can't allow that to continue. Yep. We have to take action on that. But I think we're heading in a good direction. I've got a great staff that has embraced their role as public servants, I think, and we know that we're working to try to make St. Tammany a better place for all of us.
Sure. Very informative for us and, of course, our citizens. So,
terrific.
Thanks for joining us. We thank you for joining us for this edition of Inside St. Tammany. We'll see you next time.